You're the owner of a small business, which means you're also the tech guy, and HR, and personal assistant, and head honcho, and intern. You could use another pair of hands, like the experts you'll find at Verizon's Small Business Days, April 21st through 27th. Get a free tech check, special deals, and more. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus.
And welcome to the late spring of my discontent. That's actually not a positive way to start the program. Welcome to Me and Paranormal You. This is your host, Ryan Singer, your friend. Whether you realize it or not, I'm here for you. We are talking about, who knows what we're going to be talking about today. I do want to be talking about some UFO stuff. For sure. We're going to talk about some out-of-body stuff. I mean, I guess that's kind of, typically when I am in third-year bonus mode, recording these solo episodes, typically they are relating to whatever it is I'm working on, exploring, diving into, etc. I got the book in the mail finally yesterday, the day before. Connected: The Emergence of Global Consciousness, written by Dr. Roger Nelson. Is there an Earth mind? I can't wait to get into this book. It looks like it's some heavy lifting, but it's incredible. I highly recommend going back and listening to 2 different times where Dr. Nelson was on the show and just illuminating my mind in ways that are much appreciated. I've had the absolute thrill and pleasure for 12 plus years, over 800 episodes. Now, granted, not all of them are interviews. So, over 450 of them, in fact, are. And been, I've had so many different people illuminate my mind in so many ways, and I'm very, very grateful. So highly recommend this book, even though I haven't read it yet, just because we know that Dr. Nelson is going to be providing nothing but wonderful, wonderful stuff for the world to consume if you've got the time. I've got the Disclosure Project documents book back. I had lent it to a friend of mine. Maybe we'll dive into that a little bit. He texted me a question today, or a thing, my buddy Daniel, and it blew my brain open. We're not going to get into that. That's his thing. He will be on this show very, very soon. That's going to be happening, and that is 100%. This thing I'm referencing, this is such a teaser, and I apologize. We will be discussing this thing he texted me today, which is one of these, this is so simple, how has this not been discussed before moments? Maybe like dare I compare it to the discovery of gravity? Now, I got to tell you, there's a couple things that have happened recently that I think worthy of note. I don't know if you were able to download the Gateway Voyage meditation program from archive.org from the link on the Patreon page. I will have to I'm going to find another one for you, and I'm going to put it out there. I know it's like $1,000, and I'm not trying to take money out of the Monroe Institute because I love Robert Monroe, but not everybody can afford $1,000 to try to learn how to enter the non-physical realm. So let's maybe try to help people. I'm here to help you find it. Okay. There is a Discord. There is a Gateway Voyage meditation. I believe there's a Discord server where you can get the meditations. So if you know about Discord, go out there and you can find the Discord, hopefully. And I believe they're available there from what I've heard or what I've read. So I would love to talk with someone, and I haven't yet, who has gone through the entire Gateway Voyage program. That will be happening at some point. We will get someone on here, and we're going to discuss. If I had to guess, I'd say I'm just over halfway through. I keep going back and redoing the beginning just so I can reinforce, right? And so I think, I can't remember if I told you this because I think it just happened. It happened since I recorded the last episode. Oh, no. I recorded last week's 30-year bonus, and I named it Meditation Goosebumps Incarnate. And I have to tell you, I'm still vibrating over that experience. Now, I did one last night. Obviously, I'll do another one tonight. I'm excited because I'll be going back into Threshold 3 tonight, and which will be, talking about kind of just lifting off and doing that. And then and then I'll start doing my remote viewing exercises again, which I have already previously started. But before we get to that, just as a reminder, if you are out there and you are experiencing falling back into your body, or like you feel like you're falling off your bed and you wake yourself up, you're flying in your dreams, that is, according to Monroe, that is, dare I say, guaranteed proof that you were traveling in your non-physical body, outside of your body, out of body experience. You were having an OBE in that moment. So those are two very strong telltale signs that you are having an OBE. Now, very closely related to NDE, and NDE is like a more permanent OBE, even though nothing is completely permanent, right? So until the next life, right? So, which I can't wait to rewatch the OA. 2 seasons, should have been 3, at least 3 seasons. It's I will never forgive nor really like Netflix because they prematurely ended that show, like they do every really good show. So, I mean, Netflix is like the private equity of so many things. They're destroying things. But they exploded it too big. And then the individuals suffer. And the OA is one of those shows. I don't know who's making the creative decisions over there, but I'm not a fan of that choice. And I'm not going to say I'm not a fan of that person, because it's just the person made a choice, and I wasn't a fan of it. Maybe not enough people are watching it. But I will tell you, it's one of those shows that people will go back and, even 10, 15 years from now, they're going to be like, you got to watch the OA because it was profound. And we know that here. We know that here over at this corner of the multiverse. We know that. So last night, I am in an undisclosed location of Los Angeles with my buddy Daniel. We're not even planning on sky watching, really. There's this great spot for sky watching, and we've done it, I think, 2 or was it the 3rd time last night? I can't remember. Every time I have met him over at this place, we see something. It's happened every time now. And last night was no different. Usually what we will do is we will do our own form of meditation to get into a space to try to... It's not CE5. We don't do the CE5 protocols. We just do kind of our own little meditation. I am incorporating aspects of CE5 into it when I do it. I'm also incorporating aspects of the Gateway Voyage meditation program from Monroe. So I'm kind of doing this like interesting to me combination that works for me individually. I think everyone's meditation program should be tailored to whatever works best for themselves. So I'm cobbling together aspects of CE5, which is human-initiated alien contact and or sightings, those meditation protocols. I'm cobbling together aspects of that, of the Monroe Voyage or Gateway Voyage meditation program, which is all about having out-of-body experiences, and I will say astral projection and astral travel, even though Monroe would not use that word, because it's too woo-woo. And he was trying to really anchor this in the scientific, materialistic worldview, which I don't care about that. But Monroe did. And so I'm just making sure you know that astral is not a word he would be using in honor of his memory here. So, and then I'm also sprinkling in, I'm sneezing in some aspects of just other things that I enjoy and that work for me in meditation, right? So these are the things that we're doing individually when we go to this location, me and Daniel and I, and he does his own thing. And then we kind of come out of it around the same time without setting a timer, right? In the past, that's what we have done. And we have seen lights in the sky, UFOs, UAPs, I don't know what you want to call them. It's up to you. Now, last night, we go to the same spot, and we are literally discussing, and he is ordering food. We're talking about pizza. Are we talking about pizza? Are we talking about pizza? Pizza? We're talking about pizza? Yeah, we were talking about pizza. Alan Iverson of the Paranormal. And so, and we were outside, I don't know, for not more than 10 minutes. And I luckily happened to be looking up, and then, boom. What do you know? Very clear video footage of this light in the sky, this UFO, whatever it is, traveling from behind us, traveling from north to south and in the night sky. Low, much too low and much too bright to be a satellite. We saw satellites later in the night, and we're pretty quickly aware that they were satellites. Because they were further up, they were dimmer. This one was not a satellite. So within not even trying, we hadn't even done a meditation thing or anything yet. And it happened. Boom. And we caught it. I've got the video of it. Because I go, look up, we got action. That's what I say. I was like, we got action. And boom, he caught it. Luckily, he had the wherewithal to get his phone out and start filming it. I didn't. I was just like, oh, and my phone was not within arm's reach of me at that moment. And he's got these really powerful binoculars and like night vision. I think, are they night vision? But anyway, so we were looking at it through the night vision binoculars. So beautiful. Very, very beautiful. This object was like it sparkled. It was beautiful. Obviously filled with gratitude in those moments. And I don't take them for granted. I was actually at the Comedy Club here in Los Angeles. I was there tonight, and there's a young comic there who knows I'm into all this stuff and immediately starts talking to me about this stuff. And so I'm like, well, it just so happens to be, look at this. I filmed this last night, or this is what I saw last night. And he, upon immediately seeing, he goes, oh my God, that's definitely a UFO. Now, is he a yes man? As they would say, someone who was just there to agree with me? No, I don't think so. But anyway, everybody wants to talk about this stuff for the most part. 90% of people want to have these conversations, and that percentage is increased dramatically over the years. Even in a town like Los Angeles, 12, 13 years ago when I first got out here, 14 years ago almost, maybe, golly, this summer. Has it been that long, or is there? It doesn't matter. Even then, not as many people. Some of my close friends, yes, and that's. I have friendships that were formed in comedy because we were in the weirdo corner. And the weirdo corner used to be a very small segment of the stand-up community, and the Crystal Corner used to be very, very small. I was 9 times out of 10, I was the only one in a green room who had crystals in their pocket. Now, it's, they're everywhere, and I'm glad for that. I'm not like, I'm special because I was doing it first, because people everywhere were doing this for a long, long time, and for thousands of years. Okay, so the point of me illuminating that is just to let you know the weirdo corner has grown. The light has moved, and the shadow of the corner has grown very, very large. Now there are a lot of people in that corner, and that shadow is almost becoming the main emphasis of the room itself, which is just life in general. And if you're not into this stuff, or you're not wanting to talk about it, or not open to anomalous phenomena or high strangeness or the disclosure of the truth of the reality that UFOs are amongst us, which is just truth now. That's not something we need to debate anymore. Now they're in their own little corner, right? Has quickly become the minority. Now, this is the new world. This is the shift. This is the age of Aquarius coming upon us. This, whatever we want to call it. These are the shifts in thinking. These are the paradigm shifts. These are the ideas of what is real and what is maybe figments of our imagination. And is there a difference between those two things? Had a great conversation with, you know her, you love her, Karen Rontowski, for her podcast, Paranormal Karen. Over the weekend, that won't be out until later in the summer, because Karen is very, very good at scheduling and being on top, being responsible. And I guess we couldn't be more different in that in that area of our lives when it comes to our respective shows. And we actually had a conversation about that that I think you'll find interesting. I always love Karen's perspective, and, we'll have to get her back on this show very, very soon. I can guarantee it'll be before August. But nonetheless, the corner has become large and has become the majority of the room. And it's enjoyable. It's fun. And I love that, right? Because what are we doing here if we're not talking about this? Now, granted, I want to talk about baseball too, and baseball cards all the time. I want to talk about milkshakes, right? I do all the time. And I want to talk about, Steve Martin's early movies, or either there's all kinds. We're allowed to have varied interests, but also at the same time, who doesn't want to talk about the ever-changing, unfolding nature of reality? And if you can't get excited about that, I don't. Maybe you have too much at stake in the old version of reality, and you're worried that you'll lose it. I guess that's one. I guess that's one way that you might not be excited about the new, unfolding, ever-changing nature of reality. Nonetheless, I don't have very much at stake, other than just my memories, my thoughts, my love, my connections, my relationships. So everything is moldable, and everything will change. To resist as such is a fool's errand. So let us embrace, cut anchor on skepticism, and flow the seas of the supernatural wildly and free. Take some Dramamine if you need to. Get a copper bracelet or whatever it is. I need to look into these bracelets, because I do get motion sick. And I do get scared sometimes. That's allowed. I got a little bit scared last night. I can tell you about that as well. So we saw a UFO last night. We captured it. It was captured. I'm not going to share the video. It's kind of just a thing, Maybe someday I will capture the video. Maybe once we have him once we get him back on the show, maybe we'll do a compilation of the things that we've caught together when we're out there watching together. And I'm trying to organize a larger Skywatch event. I've been dragging my feet on. I just get too busy. I get too caught up, and I need to do a better job of that. But so if you're in the Southern California, if you're in the Los Angeles area, I'm going to set that up here sometime by early May at the latest, or middle of May at the latest, before I leave town in June for the summer, to do tours, to go on tour. Now, if you're out on the road, maybe there might be some Skywatch opportunities as well. If you're in a city that I'll be visiting, depending on my schedule and my energy level, things like that. I don't want to overcommit myself to doing things after shows, because I can be pretty exhausted after a performance. And if you've seen me perform, you probably understand why, because I'm kind of a maniac sometimes. But, so I'm going to tell you also about this walk we went on last night. And I was going to record this last night, but I got back pretty late and I had a big day today, so I didn't do it. I got a big day again tomorrow, but it's important to get this out, and, I'm doing my best here. So we went on a walk through the hills of Los Angeles, and it was close to midnight. He wanted to show me a location that he had stumbled upon previously, and I'd actually walked by here once before. And it was a without getting into too many details, there was a very important reason he wanted to show me this spot. And I immediately sensed something not wonderful once we got to the spot. And it was one of those situations where this doesn't happen to me ever when I'm on an investigation. When I'm at a paranormal location, the thing that happened to me last night never happens to me. And it happened to me last night. I don't want to say never, but I will tell you, but there's an interesting correlation to someone who I care deeply, who I respect and love. And I'm going to tell you about that. We're going to come back, and just a reminder, patreon.com/Ryan Singer, $3 a month. And you never have to listen to commercials. I don't know what the situation with the commercials is right now, because there's a system that I'm kind of like relearning or learning anew. So there might only be commercials at the beginning and the end on the main feed. I don't know that. But regardless, $3 a month is, that's pretty cheap. And you get the mind coups from Matthew Jackson, the wonderful, brilliant, beautiful Matthew Jackson, the poetry that relate, each haiku relates to the third year bonus. We call them mind coups over here. We love those, and we thank you to Matthew Jackson for that. So go check that out at patreon.com. You can be a free patron and you can still get stuff. I put stuff up for everybody sometimes, even for the public. Go be a free patron. You don't have to give me money. We'll be right back.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
And I'm back. I hope you're back with me. So what I was discussing was something that happened to me last night that's never happened to me on a paranormal investigation. Was this a formal paranormal investigation last night? No. It was an adventure, and it was an exploration of a strange location. And I was not given any information in advance other than what we were going to was larger than a bread box. And boy, was it. So we get to this location, and I immediately start feeling something I have, to the best of my recollection, have never felt previously during a paranormal investigation or a paranormal event. Let me set the stage. We walk down the street that splits to the left and to the right. In the center, and the reason it splits and forks is because there's it's a hill that's been cut through, right, as we have carved our way through the hills and the mountains of this world to create streets that lead to homes, etc. Inside the geographical layers, I guess, is that how you call it? I don't need the angry geologist showing up. Do you remember him? I'll tell you. No, we don't need you showing up. There's a character that's been on the show previously, the angry geologist. I don't want him popping in, so I'm going to do my best to try to get this as accurate as possible without the geological or the archaeological know-how to properly label or describe things. When you see land be cut through, when you see land be cut through like a giant butter with a knife. You've driven across the country, or you've been in places like Arizona or where there's mountains and things. You've seen what land looks like when a big chunk of it looks like it's been cut with a knife and then a section of it removed, almost like you're looking at a 3-layer cake, but it's actually earth. this is what we're looking at here, probably 35 feet tall, right? Inside this dark earth that's been cut through, underground stuff, right? And keep in mind, this is 11:30 at night, probably, at least. Very dark. We're in a location where there's not light pollution happening in the same way it's happening in other areas of Los Angeles. There is the strangest thing that almost looks like it's illuminated, like it's aglow, as if it has its own personal lighting. And it's like this is my exact words. I said, "Oh my God, it's a pyramid." Is what I said. And it was a triangle shape, like outline, very, very big, of, I don't know, if I had to guess, I'd say about 12 inches wide, a straight line going from, the foundation up to the apex of the triangle and then back down. And it was very, very light, white, like rock, and surrounded by the dark earth and dirt. And then in the middle of it was what seemed like a perfect triangle of that same very light colored stone or earth or dirt or whatever it was, clay maybe, in the middle of it. And the reason it stood out so much is because it's very, very dark, and it's kind of late, I guess, even though I don't think 11:30 p.m. is that late. But most people do. But it's very, very, we're in nighttime. We're clearly in nighttime at this point. This is a few hours after we saw the UFO. And boom, there it is. And it's just astounding. And I said something, I was like, and we just stood there, and I'm just like dumbfounded by this thing that I'm seeing. This shape, this design, this beautiful design underneath the earth that has been exposed. How many years ago? Who knows? 80 years ago? I don't know. And we're both just like, what do we look at? How? What is? And I go, what's so funny to me right now in this moment? I think about how we have a robot spaceship on Mars. We have put our feet on the moon and walked around. Yes, I do believe that. And yet, simultaneously, at the same time, the human creature, and in this particular case, us, can be standing here looking at a cutaway of a hill and be dumbfounded by a design that shows up naturally, seemingly naturally, in nature. And we search for the meaning of this moment. What does it mean? How did this happen? Why does it look like this? How did it get this way? And maybe it is the fractal nature of nature itself that has created such a beautiful pattern and captures our attention and makes us take notice. And why is it important to pay attention when we take notice? That's a good question. For me, it falls in the same category as a synchronicity. It is dramatically emphasizing the moment of life in the physical realm that we are experiencing exactly now. And it makes me almost feel like I feel my body more. And I sense my mind extra in these moments. Now, there are moments like this on psychedelics. There are also moments like this when I get juiced up and carried away on something super exciting. This happens to me a lot, if I can make a connection between something, right? Or if I'm just reading something very interesting about alchemy in the past, or I'm reading, Journeys Out of the Body by Robert Monroe, and it's like a week ago I'm at the airport and I have a midnight flight, and so I'm taking a red eye all night long, and I had to stop reading the book because I'm in the airport reading this book alone, obviously. I'm not traveling with anyone on this trip or whatever. And I'm just like exclaiming as I'm reading it, because some of the things I was reading were so bonkers, or so bonk city USA, that I was just like, no way, fuck. Holy shit, what? No way. Oh no. Oh, like, oh no, like in a good way, right? Like, oh my God, I'm like, because I'm like, oh, there's connections here. I know what this is. This is also referenced in something else. And I'm like making these, and I'm like, oh my God, I kind of know this already, but what? What's happening? And I had to stop reading because I'm like, I look like a crazy person just reading this book called Journeys Out of the Body, just being like, oh my God, no, and I look like I look, I guess, this bearded guy with this huge, shaggy afro, long hair, just yelling about like, oh no, what? Yeah. So I guess I should have just allowed myself to keep doing it, and who knows if they would have let me fly. But why are you on a no-fly list? Oh, because I was making connections about how I don't need an airplane to travel the universe outside of my physical body. Oh, okay. If you say so, buddy. So anyway, yes. So we're staring at this triangle. We're staring at this pyramid-shaped thing with a triangle in the middle. I'm just baffled by it, and I'm in love with it, and I don't know why, and I don't know what, and I don't know how, and I don't really care. All I know is that it fascinates me, and it seems to signal something strange. Pay attention, something strange. Hey, hello, something weird is here, or there is at the very least, there's the potential for something weird and unusual here. Is it a warning? Is it just a heads up? Or is it, when you travel to places that have historical markers? Huh. Okay, so I hope I remember this because it's coming into my mind now. It's not something I've written down. There are historical markers. If you go to Sedona, Arizona, there's a bunch of historical markers, detailing which old Western was filmed there, and, where and when and how and who was in it, things like that. You can go to parks and they'll have those placards or whatever. Sometimes it'll be like metal things like screwed into stones that tell you about this was a battle in the Civil War or something like that, right? Historical homes often have information. You get it. What if there are supernatural markers, high strange markers, the paranormal outposts that give you the information? They're not giving you the information necessarily, but they are giving you information. And what you discern that information to be, what you interpret it to be, I suppose, is up to you. But maybe there is an energetic signature that accompanies seeing such a paranormal post, or, supernatural marker that will indicate that there is some historical significance here of the paranormal or the supernatural, the mystical nature. And that's interesting to me. Stonehenge, there's something, the Serpent Mound, these physical markers and signposts that let us know energetically or there's something happening here or around here that is not so easily explainable to be written down in a paragraph for you to go, interesting. What's this one? And moving on. So that's the kind of sense in the vibe I'm getting last night when I'm seeing this cut away into the stone. Now, up to the right of this is a place I've never been. Up to the left of this pyramid in this triangle is something called the witch's. Was it the witch's altar? There's something up there that I went and saw previously. And it was, there was some creepy vibes there, but in a way that was like, this is spooky, right? Not, this is, not in an ominous way, but in a, spooky way. Like, there's something going on over here. As opposed to, there's something I don't want to be a part of happening over here. Which is kind of what the right of this thing was giving off. It was affecting my vision when I tried to look down the road. Now, granted, it's nighttime, and I'm trying to look at night and whatever, but it wasn't happening to me when I was looking at other directions. It was as if someone put a Gaussian blur on top of my eyes in this one spot when I was looking, and I almost anticipated some kind of humanoid astral or, translucent being of some kind, whether light or dark, I don't know, to be walking down this road towards us. I did see something scurry across the road. It was probably a critter. And my vision was blurry. And as Daniel described it, I think it was something along the lines of, it's almost like, because when he went there previously, he's like, I have to get out of here. It was almost like he wasn't given all the information or something. There was like something missing, like you couldn't access, the total information of what you were supposed to be, I guess, experiencing or witnessing or seeing. It's kind of it's hard to articulate, I guess. And so I'm like, this hasn't happened to me before. My vision is like blurry in this one spot, which makes me feel like, what is down there? I got to get down there and see what the blur is. And another part of me is like, no, you don't. You don't need to do that, because something was happening to me that's never happened before previously. And I mean, on top of the blurry vision, actually, I'm thinking now that's probably never happened to me either. Something else that hadn't happened to me before is I started burping and my ears were popping. Now, granted, we were walking uphill, but I didn't need to, this wasn't like we were in an airplane taking off. I had to keep it was almost like an involuntary reflex where, because I don't know if you know this trick, if your ears are popping, if you can make yourself yawn, that's the best way to pop your ears. At least it is for me. Some people chew gum. That shit doesn't work. You got to try to make yourself yawn, and it stretches out your jaw, and even talking about it just now made me do it. Oh man, did you hear that? I just yawned. I don't know did you just yawn? Because I did. And it kept having to do that. I was like a snake trying to just dislodge his jaw or something. And then I kept just burping. And then it occurred to me, I'm like, why do I keep burping? I'm like, I'm not nauseous, but I feel weird. I feel a little bit dizzy. I feel off balance. And my ears are kind of popping. This is such a weird energy thing happening. And then I remembered Sarah Goff, shamanic Reiki healer extraordinaire. I remember her saying during a session once, I think it was when I first met her, she goes, don't be alarmed if you hear me belch or burp. That's me moving energy out. Like, I think it's like her moving other people's energy out. I'm almost certain, right? That when she's doing her energy work on you, moving your energy, extracting it from you, or the energy that needs to be out or whatever, and she releases it through burping, or is one of the ways, I think. I'm 99.9% sure that I've got that correct. And so I told Daniel, I was like, oh my God, this is actually interesting because this has not happened to me before, but I have context for it. Potentially I have context for what is happening. There's some energy, someone else's or something else's energy. It's like moving into me and through me or something. And I'm not trying to make that a thing that I'm doing right now. I don't have a vacancy sign on my body for energies out there. Right. And I remembered, oh shit, maybe I didn't bubble up. I definitely, thinking back on it now, I definitely didn't bubble up at the time. So maybe I did have a vacancy sign on me for energies to be like, oh, let's move on in. Pay by the hour. Or do energies think of me like that? Like I'm a pay by the hour motel? Who knows? I guess it doesn't matter what they do. And if they do, hey, and I'm not judging that. Go ahead. Use my body as a pay-by-the-hour motel energies. I'm actually not putting that invitation out there. Excuse me. I should edit that out. I don't want that. I'm not trying to be a pay-by-the-hour energy motel. I will be bubbled up. There are no vacancies here. I don't need all these random stray energies being like, oh, let's pop in for a quickie. No, we don't. I don't need you bringing your energy friends over to have parties and destroy the walls and, God knows, ruin the carpet inside my body, my energetic body here. Okay, so I'm going to retract that. But it doesn't matter if that's how you think I appear to you. I mean, that's just a judgment, I guess. Your judgment means nothing to me. Entities that want to use my body as a pay-by-the-hour motel. Okay, so I don't know how we got here. Pay-by-the-energy motel body. Pay-by-the-hour energy motel. Maybe that's the name of this episode. So we are very sex energy positive here on the Mindcast. So don't worry about that. I just don't need a lot of energies coming and going. Pun intended. So I'm burping, I'm belching, I'm blurry. And I'm like, oh, there's an energy here. And it's thick. There was a thick energy. And so I was like, okay, time to get it out. And so I was just like, no. And, kind of exhaled and popped the ears and tried to move it through. I wanted to stay. I wanted to stay in that area, but I was like, no, we don't need to do that. And then eventually we turn around, obviously, and we walk away and don't go further down, which was probably the right move at the time, at least. Anyway, this is going to be our last break of the night. We're gonna come back and we're gonna put a bow on this, and because there's one other interesting thing that I want to tell you about this experience and this strange energy, this burping, belching, blurry energy. We'll be right back. And I'm back, and I hope you are. Welcome to the program. We're talking about an experience I had last night, a couple experiences I had last night with my buddy Daniel. And I got to tell you, the one thing I haven't mentioned yet was to the right of this pyramid structure, of this design, of this geological design that is just beautiful, captivating, alluring, and quite curious, fascinating. I felt like my energy was being pulled towards the right, towards this place where it was blurry and didn't feel good, right? Didn't feel great, felt heavy, felt thick, felt, no thank you. And when someone grabs your shirt, like the front of your shirt, and like pulls you, maybe you're a kid or something, or I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but you know what that looks like, right? So imagine that, but it's energetically happening to you. I felt like I was being pulled from like my chest area energetically down this road to the right, and where the blurry vision was happening, and where the belching started occurring, and where I was dizzy and off balance. And I could feel myself being kind of yanked, almost snagged, hooked, and being pulled down into that area. And I don't know about you, but when I have a sensation like that, I will not just acquiesce to that and be like, oh, let's see what happens here. I'm sure they just want to, give me some stock tips or give me the Powerball numbers. It didn't feel like they were there to, to be a friend. It also didn't feel nefarious necessarily. To be clear, I wasn't frightened in that way, but I also was totally creeped out. 100%. There's not even 99%. I was 100% creeped out. And it was so quiet. It was just so damn quiet. I definitely sensed something was there. Retrospectively, it's interesting when you have experiences like this where you maybe can take yourself out of it for a moment and actually think in different ways about it. I wonder My instincts right now tell me something had its eyes on us. I don't mean a Sasquatch necessarily, but my gut tells me something had its eyes on us, whatever those eyes were, however it sees or perceives, humans or physical forms of us. Something was locked in on us. They had their tractor beams on us for whatever reason, maybe because we were just there and kind of making a scene about it. Now, I don't mean we were being loud and rambunctious or anything like that, but we were paying attention to the things that one would pay attention to when they are inclined into the esoteric, the occult, the paranormal, and the high strange. We weren't there admiring a house or architecture of a house. We were there admiring being befuddled and bewildered by geological striations of a seemingly purposeful and symbolic nature that seemed to have some kind of message. And we were giving energy to that. We were infusing that idea with energy. And whatever is either attached to that paranormal marker, supernatural marker, whatever is in that area, whatever is there, understood that we were there because of it. And much like you can feel when someone is staring at you from across the room, a stranger or whoever, and you turn around and you see them look away very quickly, we were staring at whatever this was, even though we didn't know who it was or what it was or even where it was. We were staring at it, and it was looking. It would catch us and look back. And then the opposite started happening. For me, now in retrospect, thinking about it, we were being observed. Observation is a mutual exercise in energy, I suppose. The observed is not necessarily passively, ever completely passively being observed. Being observed is also potentially an active state. I don't know. I'm sure people have probably talked about this before. I don't recall reading about this, but being observed is not a passive state. It is active. You know this if you've ever had dental work done or you've been the subject of a drawing or a painting. You are actively participating in being observed. If you've ever had your photo taken, if you've ever acted on film or anything like that or television, you know that acting like nothing is happening is impossible. You know you're being observed. And it is an active energy and an action. And oftentimes, I guess I've always kind of just assumed that being observed was the passive and the observer was the active. And it turns out, I think I would argue here, unscientifically as it is, that there is no such thing as the passive act of being observed. Now, if you are completely unawares of being observed, could you argue then that it becomes a passive state? And I don't know. Because are we ever truly completely unaware? Consciously, we might be unaware, but subconsciously, I believe we are aware. So whether or not so I guess it depends how deep of a layer do you want to go in the measurement of such a thing. Anyway, so yes, we were being observed and we were observing. And the energy felt woozy. And we made our way down, and I was baffled and bewildered, and I had more questions when I walked down than I did when I went up. Bigger than a bread box, indeed. I don't know if you've been paying attention to the night skies lately. I don't know if you've been trying to blast off on the astral plane. I've had strange occurrences here in the last 24 hours that are stacking on top of each other rapidly, it seems. There are people close to me and people close to them, and there are things happening. These are magical things. And I can't give you the details of this, but I will tell you, I'm just now remembering this. And I guess living a magical life means a day full of magical things. And from time to time, we can forget a magical thing has occurred. This is, I guess, magical, but I don't want it to give it like a happy, fun, light connotation, because it's not really that. I reached out to a friend of mine who I heard from a few days ago, and I never heard back from. After we had a very, very brief interaction, I reached back out today. I sensed it. All right, okay, time to reach out, check in. And that person immediately responded to me with, "Oh my God, I just said out loud." Basically asking you to check in or to give me an answer to a question. And I texted immediately upon apparently hearing that somehow. And, you know, I'm surrounded by people in my life that, in my immediate vicinity here, my buddies who I live with, who, they're not woo-woo wild ones, okay? I'm by far the woo-woo wild one here at the house. They're not into this. This isn't any part of their life other than when I force it upon them in, conversation. Like I'll walk downstairs and I'll be like, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe what just happened." They're like, "Oh shit, here we go." Anyway, so that happened today. And, does it tie into the work that we do, or, the patterns that we're setting, the intentions that we are, actively trying to live out in our lives. Like, for example, is my life becoming even more magical and quote unquote unexplainable since I've started the Gateway Voyage meditation program? And I would argue, yes, any meditation program or schedule or regimen or whatever you want to call it, that you get into, that resonates with you, that speaks to you, I would argue probably will connect you closer to the source of things that you're drawn to and or that are drawn to you in your own life. Finding out how to greater tap into a bigger consciousness on a global, on a galactic, on a universal scale, to me is what's interesting. And to me, that's what's fascinating. And what is the possibility, or what are the possibilities, rather, of our potential once tapping into even the tiniest bit of that? And I got to tell you, I don't feel like I'm that far along in this program, meaning a mastery of it, or truly integrating it into to where I don't even have to think about it anymore, right? Some things are hard for me to, especially when they're very regimented, they can be difficult for me to really get into and synthesize and just become natural. Now, I would say that currently the meditation program I'm doing, it still doesn't feel like I've gotten there where I've synthesized it or integrated it into a way it's starting to feel supernatural. That's why I keep going back and starting from the beginning to layer it. It's like the Beatles, how John and Paul would layer their vocals. So when you hear these great songs, you're like, holy smokes, their harmony, they sing so well together. You're hearing like 2 or 3 John Lennon vocal tracks on top of 2 or 3 Paul McCartney vocal tracks, or maybe just 2. I don't know what it was, but right, they're layering, and it becomes more rich and it becomes more full, and you don't even think about it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to layer these tracks, baby. I'm trying to layer them, right? So they're rich, full, and just instead of a blast off, it's a bliss off. So that's what I'm doing. And I do think it's having an effect, even at this very early stage. And whether it's me tapping into my intuition and my psychic abilities, we did some Zener cards last night. And I'll tell you about that another time. Potentially, probably we'll have to keep working on those and doing those. One of the tests, apparently I did score pretty high on, which I was not expecting necessarily. I'm still trying to figure out what is my wheelhouse in these things. in which Clair is my Clair. Hey Clair, which one are you? I'm looking for you. Clairsentience, clairaudience, clairvoyance. I'm looking for Clair. Do you know which one she is? Can you help me find my Clair, please? That's funny. I like that. Maybe we'll talk to Clair one day, and her many sisters. So, yeah. Anyway, so apparently I scored pretty damn high on one of them. Another one I just scored average, by the way. So, but I am definitely picking up signals. I'm definitely picking up messages. I am trying to travel to the astral plane. I'm trying to go see friends, and I'm trying to, the remote viewing and all that good stuff. And we're going to get there, and we're getting there slowly but surely. We're sludging along, doing the best we can. I'm Robert Monroe. This is the gateway. You should be hearing my voice in your right ear. Energy and energy systems. Now, it's interesting because Robert Monroe's voice actually sounds not too far away from Manly P. Hall's voice, who I adore. And in my mind, those two are hanging out on the astral plane in between lives right now, having a hoot together. And I can only hope that they'll still be hanging around by the time I get there, which hopefully is no time soon, but I hope they're both there because I'd love to hang out. And you know what? I'm going to try to hang out with them when I astral blast off. I told you about that on the last week's 30-year bonus. I was like, take me to Robert Monroe. Maybe tonight I'll say, take me to Manly P. Hall, please. Tell them it's important. Tell them I got to sit in it. Every time I go to the PRS, Philosophical Research Society, if you live anywhere in the Los Angeles area or anywhere close, you got to go. This Friday coming up will be the SpectreVisions. They're doing mediums. They're having a bunch of mediums there. It's going to be wild. It's going to be great. So the events SpectreVision puts on there are incredible. The other events there are amazing as well. But, I'm biased towards SpectreVision a little bit. But that doesn't mean that the other stuff happening at PRS isn't amazing as well, because it, in fact, really, really is. I think Manly P. Hall would be thrilled with how things are going. And every time I go there, I sit in both of his chairs. And I get so juiced and jacked up. I get so energetically wound up after sitting in his chairs. And it's usually pretty late at night. I'm usually up to like 5 in the morning on those nights. It's kind of, maybe I'm clairsentient. Maybe that means I'm clairsentient. Is that, hey, sentient? Is that the Clair I am? I don't know. We'll find out one of these days, sooner or later. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. We didn't even get into the Disclosure Project. We didn't get into the latest, greatest breaking news in the UFO, the paranormal world. There's apparently a Bigfoot caught, a still image of a Bigfoot caught on a trail camera. I haven't figured out that one yet, if we can trust it or not. But I'll dig into it this week if I can, and I'll reference what I'm talking about. Obviously, maybe try to link to it if we can find out. It's more difficult now with AI and the generative capabilities of such things. But I love you. I hope you love yourself. I hope you're doing okay. I hope you're hanging in there. I hope you're fighting the good fight. And I hope you're not giving up hope. We always have to hold on to hope at the very least for a better, brighter tomorrow and future. And we have to be actively participating in trying to build that future for not only ourselves, but for each other, regardless of whether we agree or disagree. I think we all can agree that we all just want to feel okay and be happy and feel like we have the resources that are needed to be provided for. And that, my friends, is a beautiful, beautiful future worth paying attention to and fighting for. And I do honestly believe we will get there. That's not to say it's not really difficult in certain times right now, potentially. Obviously, for so many people who are suffering. But keep in mind that human beings are filled with delicious, good pudding, and there's billions of us. And there's only thousands of those really, really psychopathic MFers. And we shall prevail. Okay, I hope to see you at a live show this summer. RyanSingerComedy.com. It's got all the dates. If not, I will see you, as always, and even more so, at the watering hole on the astral plane.